In the 1960s, engineers at Boeing faced an impossible challenge: build an aircraft 2 times larger than anything flying. The result would change aviation forever. You're looking at the Boeing 747, the jumbo jet that revolutionized how we cross oceans. But what you don't see are the remarkable secrets hidden within its aluminum skin. How did a plane designed to be obsolete within a few years become one of history's most iconic aircraft? And why did this marvel of engineering almost bankrupt the company that built it? The Queen of the Skies harbors stories that even the most dedicated aviation enthusiasts rarely hear. From concealed capabilities to record-breaking feats that seem impossible even by today's standards. I'm about to show you 10 extraordinary secrets of the 747 that will transform how you see this legendary aircraft. And trust me, the most surprising one, it isn't what you think. Secret number 1. The accidental icon. The 747's most recognizable feature, that iconic hump, it wasn't actually meant for passengers at all. When Boeing's engineers first conceptualized the 747 in the 1960s, they believed supersonic travel would make conventional jets obsolete within years. The 747 was designed primarily as a cargo aircraft that could be quickly converted when passenger demand inevitably disappeared. That distinctive upper deck, it was engineered to allow the entire nose section to swing open for cargo loading. The cockpit was elevated above the main deck purely for practical reasons, to keep it out of the way during loading operations. But here's what's truly fascinating. This temporary design decision, it created one of aviation's most unusual passenger experiences. On the 747, you could actually sit in front of the pilots. Those seats in the nose section on the lower deck, they position passengers further forward than the flight crew, offering a perspective no other commercial airliner can match. Think about that for a moment. While most airliners have passengers sitting behind the cockpit, 747 travelers in those coveted nose seats, they experience takeoffs and landings from a vantage point that even the pilots couldn't enjoy. What was intended as a short-term compromise became the aircraft's signature profile, instantly recognizable anywhere in the world. Secret 2. The supersonic subsonic. Would it surprise you to learn that despite being over 50 years old, the 747 is still the fastest subsonic commercial aircraft flying today? Modern jets like the Boeing 787 Dreamliner and Airbus A350 outclass the 747 in efficiency, range, and technology, but none can match the jumbo's raw speed. The 747-400 and 747-8 cruise at Mach 0.85. That's 564 miles per hour at altitude. For comparison, most modern airliners, they cruise around Mach 0.8. That difference might seem negligible, but stretched across transoceanic flights, it adds up to meaningful time savings. This became dramatically evident in February 2020 when a British Airways 747 caught a powerful jet stream over the North Atlantic. The result? A New York to London crossing in just 4 hours and 56 minutes, shattering the previous subsonic record and approaching the speeds of the supersonic Concorde. This raises an intriguing question. How did engineers in the 1960s, using slide rules and wind tunnels, design an aircraft that modern computer-aided competitors still can't outpace? Secret 3. The Flying Rescue Mission. The true capacity of the 747 was revealed during one extraordinary flight that rewrote aviation records while saving thousands of lives. In May 1991, Ethiopia was descending into civil war. In a desperate 36-hour window, Israel launched Operation Solomon to evacuate Ethiopian Jews. But how do you transport thousands of refugees halfway across Africa in just hours? The answer was the 747. El Al Airlines stripped a 747-400 of most interior furnishings, creating a hollow flying shell. What happened next defies belief. 1,088 people boarded that single aircraft, more than double its normal capacity, and setting a record that stands to this day. The flight crew had to perform complex calculations to account for this unprecedented passenger load, and remarkably, that passenger count, it actually increased during the flight when 2 women gave birth. This wasn't just a humanitarian triumph, it was proof that the 747's structural design had capabilities beyond what anyone had imagined. When lives were at stake, the jumbo delivered in ways no other aircraft could. Have you ever wondered what other extraordinary capabilities might be built into the planes you fly on? Secret 4. The analog masterpiece. What would you do if confronted with 971 switches, gauges, and lights, and all of them mattered? That was the reality for 747 pilots when the aircraft first entered service. Before the era of glass cockpits and digital systems, flying the Jumbo required 3 skilled professionals working in perfect harmony. The pilot and co-pilot, they handled flight controls, while a dedicated flight engineer managed an array of critical systems: fuel transfer, electrical generation, cabin pressurization, and environmental controls. Each position required specialized training and formed part of a complex orchestration. The 747 cockpit, it wasn't just technically demanding, it created a unique culture. On transoceanic flights, crews developed rituals and camaraderie that many say has been lost in the digital age. There was something profoundly human about the mechanical interface between these aviators and their massive machine. Pilots who mastered the 747, they earned special respect within aviation circles. For many, being certified on the Queen of the Skies wasn't just a professional milestone, it was the pinnacle of their flying careers. Modern pilots managing computerized systems may find it hard to imagine the tactile connection their predecessors had with this incredible machine. Each switch movement and gauge reading provided direct feedback that connected them intimately with the aircraft systems. Secret 5. The audacious gamble. In 1966, Boeing took perhaps the greatest corporate risk in aviation history, betting the company's entire future on an aircraft that many considered impossible to build. The scale of what they attempted was staggering. The 747 would require over 6 million individual parts, 171 miles of wiring, 5 miles of tubing, and 75,000 engineering drawings. No existing facility could accommodate the construction of something so immense. Boeing's solution? Build the largest building by volume on Earth, the Everett factory in Washington state. At 398,000 square meters, it remains the world's largest building by volume to this day. This wasn't just engineering, it was a logistical moonshot. The team that made it happen called themselves the Incredibles, working around the clock, often solving problems that had never been encountered before. Consider this: the entire development program, from concept to first flight, took just 28 months. That's a time frame that would be considered impossible for a much simpler aircraft today. Had the 747 failed, Boeing would have been financially ruined. The program cost over $1 billion in 1960 dollars, equivalent to about $9 billion today. For context, that represented more than the company's entire net worth at the time. This wasn't just a new airplane, it was an all-or-nothing wager on reshaping global aviation. We've explored some remarkable aspects of the 747, but the most extraordinary secrets are yet to come. Before we continue, I'm curious, have you ever flown on a 747? Drop a comment below with your memory of this iconic aircraft. Now, let's discover why the 747's most distinct feature almost didn't exist at all. Secret 6. The redesigned revolution. The 747 we know, it almost looked entirely different. Boeing's chief engineer, Joe Sutter, originally envisioned a true double-decker design, 2 full passenger levels running the entire length of the aircraft. In theory, this would have maximized the passenger capacity while keeping the fuselage shorter. But there was a critical problem: safety regulations. FAA requirements stipulated that any commercial aircraft must be capable of full evacuation within 90 seconds. Engineers quickly realized that evacuating 2 full decks through limited exits, it would be virtually impossible in an emergency. This forced a radical redesign. The full upper deck was scrapped, leaving only the partial upper deck we recognize today. What began as a compromise inadvertently created the 747's iconic silhouette, the graceful curve that made it instantly recognizable worldwide. This design pivot also enabled one of the 747's most valuable capabilities: its transformation from passenger jet to cargo hauler. That partial upper deck, with the cockpit safely above the main deck, it allowed for a hinged nose section that could open entirely for loading oversized cargo. This adaptability gave the 747 remarkable longevity. When passenger versions were retired, they can be converted to freighters, extending their operational lives by decades. Here's the irony. The feature that made the 747 unmistakable, it was never part of the original version. Sometimes engineering constraints lead to the most elegant solutions. Secret 7. The flying canvas. How do you paint something the size of a small office building? Every time a 747 receives a new livery, it triggers a massive operation involving specialized facilities, skilled technicians, and remarkable attention to detail. First, the existing paint is carefully stripped away, a process that reveals the aircraft's bare aluminum skin. This critical phase allows inspectors to examine the entire fuselage for microfractures, corrosion, or other issues that might be hidden beneath the paint. Next comes the transformation. Painting a 747 requires approximately 120 gallons of paint, adding up to 1,200 pounds to the aircraft's weight. This might seem trivial for a plane weighing over 350 tons, but airlines calculate fuel consumption to decimal points. That extra weight translates directly to additional fuel costs over the aircraft's lifetime. The painting process itself is extraordinarily precise. After applying primer, multiple layers of color are added, each needing to cure before the next is applied. The painters work with specialized equipment in environmentally controlled hangars to ensure perfect application. What makes this particularly fascinating is how airlines balance aesthetic desires with practical considerations. Some opt for partial paint schemes to save weight, while others transform their 747s into flying artwork regardless of the penalty. British Airways' special retro BOAC livery and Qantas's Wunala dreaming Aboriginal-inspired design, it showed how the 747's massive canvas could become a cultural statement visible from miles away. Secret 8. The record setter. In 1989, Qantas accomplished something aviation experts considered impossible: an 11,000-mile non-stop flight from London to Sydney on a 747-400. This wasn't just pushing boundaries, it was shattering them. The 747-400ER extended range could carry up to 63,500 gallons of jet fuel, enough to power a typical car for over 50 years. But even this massive capacity, it wasn't designed for such an extreme journey. For this record-setting flight, Boeing engineers had to completely rethink the aircraft's capabilities. They stripped unnecessary equipment to reduce weight and installed additional fuel tanks in areas normally used for cargo. The flight lasted over 20 hours and landed with minimal fuel reserves. What made this achievement particularly significant is that it demonstrated theoretical capabilities 2 decades before purpose-built ultra-long-range aircraft like the Airbus A350ULR would make such journeys commercially viable. Think about what this means. Engineers in the 1980s, they designed an aircraft with capabilities that wouldn't be fully realized until the 2010s. The 747, it wasn't just ahead of its time, it was defining possibilities that future aircraft would strive to match. This wasn't just a publicity stunt, it was proof that the 747's design had untapped potential that extended far beyond its original specifications. Secret 9. The Space Shuttle Carrier. The 747 didn't just change air travel, it helped conquer space. For 30 years, NASA relied on specially modified 747s, designated Shuttle Carrier Aircraft (SCA), to transport space shuttles between landing and launch sites. This required extraordinary modifications. NASA engineers removed most interior components, reinforced the fuselage structure, and added vertical stabilizers to the tail section to compensate for the aerodynamic interference caused by the shuttle riding piggyback. These 747s completed 87 ferry flights, carrying shuttles like Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour, playing a crucial but often overlooked role in America's space program. Consider the engineering challenge. How do you safely mount a 78-ton spacecraft on top of a commercial airliner and maintain stable flight characteristics? NASA's solution was a testament to both the 747's robust design and the ingenuity of aerospace engineers. The final mission for NASA's shuttle carrier came in 2012, when it transported the Endeavour to Los Angeles for museum display. As the modified 747 made its last landing, it closed a remarkable chapter where one icon of American innovation literally carried another on its back. What other commercial aircraft could have performed this extraordinary role? The answer is simple: none. Secret 10. The cultural phenomenon. The most remarkable secret of the 747 isn't technical at all. It's how a machine transcended its purpose to become a global cultural phenomenon. Boeing submits that the 747 fleet has logged more than 118 million flight hours and nearly 23 million flight cycles, carrying some 7.5 billion passengers, equivalent to basically the Earth's population. But statistics, they don't capture what this aircraft truly meant. For millions, the 747 wasn't just transportation, it was the vehicle of life-changing moments. It reunited families separated by oceans, it carried people to new lives in distant countries, it transported humanitarian aid to disaster zones. It even served as Air Force One, carrying US presidents to historic summits. The 747 silhouette became so recognizable that children worldwide could draw it from memory. It appeared in countless films, advertisements, and artworks, transcending aviation to become a universal symbol of human connection. Flight crews formed deep bonds, working together on long-haul journeys. Engineers spoke of the aircraft with unusual affection. Passengers who experienced the upper deck often describe it decades later with a sense of privilege. As newer, more efficient aircraft gradually replace the remaining passenger 747s, something intangible is being lost. The Queen of the Skies wasn't just technically superior, it had a presence, a majesty that modern aircraft struggle to match. In an age of algorithmic design and efficiency optimization, the 747 reminds us that some machines can touch our humanity in ways that transcended their technical specifications. From its groundbreaking speed to its unprecedented passenger capacity, from carrying space shuttles to evacuating entire communities, the Boeing 747 wasn't just an aircraft, it was a flying revolution. Each secret we've explored reveals a different facet of its remarkable legacy. What began as a cargo plane design evolved into perhaps the most significant machine of the 20th century, connecting continents, cultures, and lives in ways previously unimaginable. The 747? Well, it represents something increasingly rare, an engineering achievement that balances technical excellence with human experience. Its designers, they didn't just solve problems, they created beauty. As the remaining jumbo jets gradually leave passenger service, we're saying goodbye, not just to an aircraft, but to an era when flying still felt magical. The Queen, it may be retiring, but her reign transformed our world forever. What's your most memorable 747 experience? Or, if you never had the chance to fly on one, which of those secrets surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments.